This semi-ghost town was once a busy place with prosperity and tragedy, but to look at it now, it's hard to imagine that so much once transpired here. We'll show it to you right now on Ghost Towns and More. In eastern Idaho, not far from the Montana border, is a semi-ghost town that once had several families and miners making a good life for themselves. People came up with ideas for whatever problem they needed solved, and that ingenuity made the town thrive. In the 1880s, prospectors were combing the mountain ranges of the Rockies in Idaho when one of them stumbled upon a great find in Horseshoe Gulch, not far from where the present town site is today. A small town sprang up near the gulch, and the Gilmore-Salisbury stage line that serviced the area was the inspiration behind naming it. One of the stage line partners was Jack Gilmore, and his name was submitted as the preferred name of the town, being Gilmer. But when the charter papers came back, a clerical error had misspelled the name as Gilmore. Despite attempts to have it corrected, the name stuck. The settlement was often referred to as Upper Gilmore. Then, as the settlement expanded, the Gilmore town site became predominantly in the lower section that is visible today. The former Upper Gilmore site became a busy hub of mining activity and several mining buildings and businesses. Mining claims were sold, and new owners did very well with the profits. The town had a hospital, school, a large hotel, and several homes. One mine owner produced over $3 million in silver and lead ore extractions, and reportedly had the highest grade of silver lead ore of any mining camp in the United States at that time. Since the town did not have a railroad, mining ores had to be shipped by horse-drawn wagons several miles across the desert to the nearest shipping point. The trip was difficult and costly. Investors in the mines at Gilmore came up with an unusual idea to help ship ores by purchasing a steam-powered tractor, a huge contraption that had the ability to pull 8 ore wagons like a train. Each ore wagon weighed about 20 tons, but the steam tractor, named the Iron Monster, was able to pull the heavy wagons all the way to the railroad in Du Bois, Idaho, in about 4 days. When the ground became wet, travel through the mud became impossible, so the steam Iron Monster could only operate during the drier months of the year. The tractor broke down frequently, and after only a few years of enduring the difficulties of this operation, it was decided to finally bring a railroad to Gilmore. By 1910, the railroad was completed into town, and the bulk of the town site was moved down to the lower slopes where the train depot was located. The new rail line transported ore and passengers to Armstead, Montana, where connecting railroads intersected. This made ore shipments much easier and more effective. The peak years were from 1910 to 1920, and the population of Gilmore at its peak was about 1,000. A power plant was constructed near the rail line that supplied electricity to the mining and town operations. As the town thrived, there were more hotels and even a Model T dealership. The mercantile store was one of the more prominent businesses, and the remains of the building still stand today. There were also a number of saloons and pool halls. One of the owners of an established meat market in town was John Benedict. In 1912, John was on a trip to purchase cattle when he developed a severe pain in his side. Riding on horseback, he made his way to a hotel in a nearby town. When medical help arrived, he was transported to Salmon, Idaho. With only primitive medical technology at the time, he died on May 12th from a ruptured appendix at the age of 45. Other tragedies happened to people of Gilmore, and one of the most remembered was of a 13-year-old boy who was trying out a new pair of skis he received for Christmas. As he and a friend skied down a hill in town, he tripped and fell face first onto a sharp tree stump that impaled him. There were also good memories of great people in town. When the Great Depression struck in 1929, everyone was hurting for money. One of the owners and prominent men of Gilmore, Edgar Ross, instructed the mercantile store to provide food for anyone who needed it at no cost, and also allowed residents to live rent-free, hoping for better times ahead. But eventually, even the most prosperous business owners were all forced to close. The final straw for the town was when a boiler explosion destroyed the power plant in town. With the Great Depression causing mining operations to halt, the loss of the power plant was the final straw. Over the next few years, the town was abandoned. Today, there are a few residents who now call Gilmore home, but the vacant buildings dotting the landscape attest to a different life in the past that is now gone. Efforts are ongoing to preserve the history and structures of the town. The town is easily accessible off Highway 28, where you can drive through and appreciate all that people had to go through to build a life, an industry, and a community in this very remote place.